rather than making a table of values, another strategy is to graph the two equations and then use the parts you need to use. So, what would be the slope of this first equation? 2, or 2 over 1. And what's the intercept? -3. So I start at -3, so 1, 2, 3. And I follow the slope, which is up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. So there's the... Hey guys, can you not talk about that right now? Mr. Harris? So there's the first line. What about this second line? X plus 2. Slope is 1, and the intercept is positive 2. So 1, 2, so there's the intercept. And I go up 1, over 1. Up 1, over 1. Now I'm working lightly in pencil because I'm going to be erasing a lot of this. Where do the functions switch over from one to the other?
4, 5, 6.
What's the point where it switches? What value of x does everything change?
-5.
It's at 5? No. Look at my rules. Where does it tell me to switch from one rule to the next? At +1. So I'm going to make a line right through +1 where it switches. If I'm to the left of 1, so that's numbers less than 1, which rule do I use? The first or the second? That's the first rule. So that's the first one I graphed. That's this guy. After 1, what rule do I use? First rule or the second rule. If my numbers are bigger than 1, what rule do I use? Second rule. So after 1, I use the second rule.
What are you looking at?
Guys?
They're annoying me. People asking me looking at it.
At 1, what rule do I use? The first or the second? The first. So that's this point right here. So at the other guy, I make an open dot. Let me get rid of everybody I don't need. I don't need him because I switched at 1. I don't need him because I switched at 1. Well, just in case I used it. And what's left, yeah, I can only, this is not the best eraser here, but it gets the job done. When I look at what's left, I've got the first rule gets me all the way up to and including 1. Then I jump up, I switch to this, and then I continue. Now, if you've only got a pen, what you can do is make them as dotted lines, and then you fill in the ones you actually use. That'll get the job done too. Then you would just have like a little dotted line continuing, a dotted line continuing to show the trends, but they're not the actual answer. The advantage of doing it this way is that I don't have to come up with a whole bunch of numbers for a table of values. The downside, if you're not comfortable graphing your host, you really have to be good at taking these functions and knocking out a graph quickly and efficiently. What's up?
Why didn't you have to do a table?
In this way, I didn't use a table because I just said, look, I'm just going to graph the whole line and then erase the parts I don't use. The table, when I do it that way, I'm actually saying, let's get a whole bunch of values we are going to use and then plot those points and then kind of fill in the gaps where I need to. So it's just a different approach.
How do you film it?
You always have, well, like, again, you say, well, I know I have to go all the way back to the line, so you go back to the line. You know, this went up right to the border, so I know I have to, this did not pick up after the border.
You're gonna have a lot of questions on the test.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cracking.
Well, before we're about the test, what more can I say about this example? Shoot.
How do you know? Never mind.
Okay.